On in, everybody. Shailla here, obviously. Hope you guys can see me good. I better get a better camera. But, alright, you guys, I'm here. It is I. Okay, so yes, welcome to first episode of the Shailla Show. Okay, everybody. So yeah, my name is Shailla Manitowabi, Shailla Winter Manitowabi cook, and I am an urban Indian, you could say. What many people in the Indigenous community call a colonized Indian. Yeah, I live in the city of Toronto, Canada, and I love the city. I do. It stinks sometimes. It's musty. And yeah, I guess I better not do a Toronto video. But yeah, I love this city though so much. I love the summer in Toronto. I love it. I love the city though. I really do. I really love it. I love going to the island here. I have a lot of great memories here, and I also have a lot of bad memories here. Right? Obviously. If you know a little bit about me, you know I've experienced quite a bit. And so let's delve into that a little bit. So yeah, let me just share a little bit about me first, I guess. Yeah, I'm from Wikwemekong, unceded territory. But I never lived there. I grew up multiple different places, Barrie, Orillia, Sault Ste. Marie, Blind River, Mississauga First Nation, Brecken, Lagoon City. Went to school in Rama Minjigan and Condasset Elementary School. I lived in Cleveland, Ohio. I was so happy to get back here. It wasn't for me. I would love to go travel to other different cities in the United States, and I'm sure that I will. And I've gone to Miami, but anyways. But I did not like living in Cleveland. I think we were the only non-white family on the block, and I'm white passing, but my mother, she's way darker. Anyways, trailing off a little bit here, but mainly I've lived everywhere. Barrie, Mississauga, Ontario, even Brampton. I lived in there for a bit. I never stayed in one place too long. We always moved around as a family a lot. Because my dad, he would travel around a lot for work. And because he was climbing the ranks at a company, an ice cream company. And so he was in logistics. And I grew up predominantly up north. And then we moved to the GTA area when I was in high school. And I had experienced a lot of trauma later on when I was 18 years old. Was never really into the culture like that a lot. It was my grandmother who got us introduced into the culture when she got older. She got, I guess she was upset that she had not learned a lot of, oh, what the hell? What just happened? Okay, you guys, I am back. Sorry about that. I got interrupted. I'm a single mother, okay? Oh, wait. You know what I always wanted? I want to start doing ASMRs now that I have all of this equipment. I should have got ice. What the hell? Anyways, you guys, as I was saying, yes, I've gone through a lot in my life. Anyways, I've had many different experiences in my life. good and bad. And I'm still here. I'm still alive. Living and thriving. And when I sit here and think about it, it boggles my own mind. It doesn't make sense to me. Of all of the things that I've experienced, it's a lot. So I don't think about it all the time. I don't think about, honestly, day to day, I don't even think about those things at all. Some of the things, you know, human trafficking, domestic violence, you know, it's just so many different things. Stalking, even. And you know, I want to talk about those things more in depth on my channel and share about how I overcame these things, right? Because somebody somewhere needs to hear it, right? And yeah, just to have another platform, I guess, and create videos and do ASMRs. And I really love watching crunchy food videos of the ASMR mukbangers. I just love the sound of a good crunch. I don't know anybody else. That might be a little weird. But it is what it is. Anyways, so yeah. Let me just share a little bit more about myself. So yeah, I grew up all over the place. I wasn't really raised in the culture, in Indigenous culture, until later on. When I was about 18 years old. You know, I had gone through a very traumatic experience. I'll dive into that for another video. I just want to do a main introductory right now and share a bit about myself. But yeah, I got into the culture after I was trafficked, and you know, I got really close to Creator after that, into my culture and to learning about Creator and spirituality and these beautiful things, right? I learned how to bead. I started going to different community centers in Mississauga and Toronto. Always trying to do everything I could to find support. You know, my mom was trying to take me out of the house, and because I would just always be at home, which is kind of, I guess, what I'm doing now. I guess I don't know. I just end up just staying home. But like, I have everything I need, you know, like, I don't know, but we go to the park. So, and you know, different places here and there to get things. Anyways, you guys, so that's a little bit about me. I love my culture now that I've learned about it. And I've taken the time to, you know, learn about what happened and colonization, 1492. You know, the cycle of abuse. Because for a long time, I didn't forgive my mother for the way that she had treated me when I was younger. Because I was mistreated very badly. Because my mother had gone through a lot of trauma when she was a child as well. I'm not going to dive into that. That's not my story to tell. But she had endured a lot. And so she wasn't the best mother that she could have been. And I think ultimately that had led me to rebel. As well as my dad was always away working. Okay, just put it on the table behind you, okay? You can get up and reach that table and put it on the table there. I think I was talking about, oh yeah, the cycle of abuse. So yeah, the cycle of abuse is very predominant in Indigenous families that were affected by colonization. And basically everybody was affected by colonization. It affected everybody. It even affects white people. It is what I'm learning recently. The effects of colonization on white people. When they are the colonizers, they don't grow up with a home, right? And anyways, that's another story for another time. But it's getting late too. But so yeah, so basically, yeah, I had gone through a lot, And my culture is what basically really helped me. Learning about the culture, learning about the ways of our people, and, you know, forgiveness, forgiving my mother for the way that she had treated me when I was a kid. You know, and learning about colonization helped me to do that, right? You know, the cycle of abuse, we learn about it. It just gets passed on generation to generation, right? And it causes people to, you know, you don't know what you don't know. And so let's break that down. You don't know what you only know what you're taught. A lot of people, they don't know what it's like to say, maybe they grew up in a household that they didn't say I love you, or they didn't hug each other, you know, like they didn't nurture their children, right? So then they're not going to do that to their own kids, right? And so colonization, 1492. So when the European settlers did come here to Canada, you know, they took the children away from the parents, put them into boarding schools where they were, you know, abused sexually, physically. Many children died in these schools. I have heard horror stories about these schools from, you know, my great aunt, several different family members, and other residential school survivors that I've worked with in the community, the Indigenous community in Toronto, where I've been working for the past so many years, 11 years of my life. And so I met quite a few residential school survivors and worked with them as clients as well, and heard terrible, terrible, terrible things, you know, unspeakable horrors. And it is heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking to learn about that. You know, and just to know of all the pain that exists out there, you know, and how badly we need to be there for our community and support our community members, right? Our residential school survivors, how important it is to carry on these teachings that we have, to learn about beadwork, to learn about different ceremonies, to learn about, you know, the traditional ways of our people, Indigenous people, right? The 7 grandfather teachings, you know, the clan system, all of these things. I'm very well versed on a lot of it. You know, and yeah, I believe in different things as well. I believe in God. I believe Creator. I believe in God. You know, I believe that it's all the same. You know, it is all. It doesn't matter who you call him or her, Allah, God, Jesus, the Creator, Gijemnido, the Great Spirit. You know, it's a higher power. That's the most important thing. I believe that we all need a higher power. You know, and that is what basically healed me in my life. Is that connection to Creator, a connection to my culture as well, connection to, you know, the present moment as well. Eckhart Tolle. I mean, how many times? How long are the waiting lists for, you know, trauma workers, trauma psychologists and psychotherapists that specialize in trauma, complex trauma, as well as rape and, you know, or grape or whatever. But you know, because I had been assaulted, and I remember calling, and they said that there was like an over year-long wait list to speak to somebody that specializes in human trafficking victims. Right, and I think when you're going through that experience, when you're dealing with that, and you're dealing with all the trauma. When I was younger, when I was in my early 20s, but it was briefly after that happened, shortly, I was all over the place, and I was not living in a good way, and I felt hopeless. When I think back, you know, I remember going to talk to a counselor, and her telling me, I don't feel qualified enough to speak to somebody with your level of trauma. And that stuck with me in my head, and it made me feel fucked up for a long time. Like, I felt like I was hopeless, right? I tried calling different people, Imagine going to get help and then somebody's like, you're so fucked up, I can't even help you. Like, it's really not funny. It's actually serious, that the amount of more people that we need trained in trauma-informed care to work with people that have survived rape and human trafficking. And there needs to be more counselors. There needs to be more psychotherapists that specialize in that. Anyways, but you know, and trauma-informed care. You know, knowing how to speak to somebody that's experienced that type of trauma, so that they don't internalize some of that as well. But anyways, so I was basically forced to go within in my early 20s, and I just started reading. I read Eckhart Tolle. I read The Four Agreements. I was reading Deepak Chopra. I was reading all kinds of, like, everything. Aw, babe, I'm sorry. Hang on, I'm almost done the first episode, okay? And so, yeah, it took me a long time to center my mind and to get that clarity. And it took me just praying. I would pray every day. And you know, I need to start praying more. Because, you know, I used to pray in the morning and I used to pray in the evening as well. And I would light a candle and I would light a smudge at the same time. And I'd pray to Creator. And I wasn't even drinking at that time. I was just praying. And I was beading a lot. I would be beading all day. I left the city. I went to go live with my mother in Blind River. And my two brothers. And I would just bead all day and paint. Bead and paint all day. And my grandfather would come at the time, R.I.P. Yeah. So anyway, so yeah, I got really tired with my son, and I had to cut that video off because I was just so tired at that point. I think I was just done. It was a long day, and I was just putting too much on my plate at that moment. Anyways, but yeah, I'm not a makeup artist, you know what I mean? I try my best. But yeah, so sometimes I just don't give a shit. Like right now, I really don't. I did the hair, so that's why I'm like. Anyways, you guys, so I got really tired, and then yeah, I thought I would close off that video early because I was just too tired. But basically, what I was trying to say is, you know, my culture healed me, and so did my connection to Creator, as well as reading a lot. I was forced to go inwards with my healing because I didn't have a lot of resources available to me at the time, right? So yeah, that's the end of this episode. Okay, you guys, the first episode. All right, we're gonna get there. So I know hopefully the Shailla Show will just grow, and then we'll learn new things along the way. But the first few tries is always, you know, it's your testing phase, in the testing phase, right? So anyways, thank you for coming, and thank you for watching my first episode of the Shailla Show. And I hope you guys enjoyed it, and be sure to check back for more updates on my music, as well as, you know, just other things I want to share on the channel. Obviously, are, you know, things about human trafficking, MMIWG, Indigenous culture. You know, maybe I'll do some cooking stuff too, because I love to cook, and be healthy as well. You know, so who knows? There's so many endless possibilities that we can do, and I'm open to suggestions as well. And I can't wait to share my life with you guys. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited about this. You know, I really want to up my YouTube game. You know, so you know, but yeah, that's why it's important to have people around you that are, you know, maybe they're ahead of you, right? People instead of getting jealous, learn from people, you know? Instead of being jealous of somebody, get to know them, be their friend, you know? It's crazy out here that people have to attack other people, you know, instead of just being humble and, you know, saying, oh, wow, maybe I can learn something here, you know? Anyways, yeah, but to each their own, you know? Anyway, so Chimigwich, everybody, thank you so much. I can't wait for you guys to come back to the channel and learn some new things and learn more about me and, you know, my life and just, you know, all things Shailla, okay? So Chimigwich, thank you for coming to the Shailla Show. All right? Okay, Chimigwich.